What is up, everybody? Welcome back to our channel. My name is Al.
And I'm Terez.
And we are the Joneses. Listen, if you have not done so, we would appreciate it if you went ahead and hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. In today's video, we're going to give you some tips on how to escape the cycle of living paycheck to paycheck. Stay tuned.
According to a 2019 Forbes article, 78% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck.
So what is really living paycheck to paycheck? It's basically not being able to sustain the lifestyle that you live in the event that your income goes away or decreases substantially. So in today's video, we're going to give you guys 3 tips on how to escape this cycle of living paycheck to paycheck. The very first tip is stop living beyond your means. Stop living at a level that's higher than your income. You know, if you make $50,000, stop living like you make $60,000 or $70,000. And one of the telltale signs to figure out if you are living beyond your means is if you carry credit card debt. A lot of people use their credit cards to fill in the gaps to where they don't actually have the cash to pay for whatever it is that they just purchased.
So if you have to swipe that credit card and you don't actually have the cash in the bank to pay for it, then that tells you you don't need to be buying that particular thing, that particular item, that particular service. Just walk right past, just go without.
Sometimes we get into this mood where we feel like we deserve something. We've made this huge accomplishment. We might have done something to where we feel like we need to reward ourselves. Just because you deserve something doesn't mean you can afford it. I feel like I deserve to go golfing, or I feel like I deserve to retire. Well, I can't afford to retire right now. So.
I'm sure we all feel like that. I could retire right now.
Right. So just because we feel like we deserve it, you know, it doesn't mean we can afford it. And a lot of times we'll end up taking this big accomplishment that we've done, that, you know, something that we've accomplished in life, and we turn it into a tragedy because we go out and celebrate with something that's way above our head, and now we're sitting back in debt and can't afford it. We tend to give the advice that it's best practice, or we feel like it's good practice to live 3 to 5 years behind your income. So we live our lives, we base our budget based on what we made 3 to 5 years ago. Our salaries and everything has increased, but that doesn't mean we increased our spending.
Yeah, our salaries have increased, but our expenses have also decreased because we became debt free. You know, freed up about $1,200 a month.
And that gives us wiggle room to put money up. So now that we don't, if something happens to one of our paychecks, we have wiggle room to where we're not running around like a chicken with their head cut off because we don't know what to do because we don't have an income, or we don't have a check coming in this week or next week.
Especially during this pandemic, it's important to be prepared because you never know. So this leads us to our second tip, which is to create an emergency fund. The financial experts suggest that you save at least 3 to 6 months of expenses in your emergency fund.
So like for us, we have an emergency fund in place to where if one of us don't get paid for any particular reason for that week or the next week, we have money in our emergency fund that we can dip into and replace what we would have got paid, or even just to cover our expenses. So now we're not scrambling around figuring out what bills we're going to pay, what bills we aren't going to pay, you know, whether we got to call, you know, the landlord or somebody, whoever, and say, hey, we can't give y'all any money. We have money put aside for things like that. So the emergency fund is real big and key in making sure that you escape living paycheck to paycheck.
An emergency fund also helps you when unexpected emergencies happen. Newsflash, emergencies do happen. You can have a flat tire, you can have an unexpected car repair, a child could get sick and you would need medicine, just any kind of emergency can occur, and this is where your emergency fund will come in handy, and the emergency wouldn't set you back because you had to use like money that was set aside for bills or something else because this emergency came up. You wouldn't have to do that. You would just use your emergency fund instead of trying to move around and, okay, I'm not going to pay this bill because this emergency came up. You have an emergency fund to catch you when emergencies happen.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that because, you know, Mama, I love you, but growing up, we didn't have an emergency fund. So if something unexpected came up, like a car repair, you know, it was one, either you didn't, a certain bill didn't get paid, or you were calling auntie or uncle or grandma to borrow money to cover that expense or fill in the gap because we didn't have reserves put aside to where if something came up, we didn't have to take it from bill money and pay for something that should have came from the emergency fund.
You're not the only one. A lot of people are like that. A lot of people living that way.
Like we said, 78% of people are living paycheck to paycheck. Which brings us to our third tip and how to escape living paycheck to paycheck, and that is creating a budget. Creating a budget allows you to see exactly where your money is going. So there's some people out here who are just living without a budget. They have no idea how much money they spend on food, gas, clothes, none of that. But a budget allows you to see exactly where your money is going, and it allows you to see if there are places where you can cut back in order to make room to build up emergency fund.
A budget just shows you if you can afford your current lifestyle, period.
I do want to make the point that we know that there are people out here who, I mean, quite frankly, and just blunt to put it, they just don't make enough money to escape the cycle. Mm-hmm. So the problem, the issue lies in income.
I remember growing up, my dad had a part-time job, and I remember him saying when he got paid, he paid the rent, and then after that he had like $50 left. So the reality is, some people, no matter what kind of budget you concoct, it's just not going to be enough, because it was 6 of us in the house. Like, how are you going to stretch $50 to take care of utilities, food, any other kind of expenses to take care of a family off $50? It's not going to work.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's a whole nother issue. Yeah. And we understand that is some people's reality, where you just need more incomes. The budget isn't the problem, you need more income. So we do know that that's a reality. That's just a whole nother issue.
We're talking to people who, if they would look at their budget, they would see that they have the means, they have the funds, they have the income, and the capability of not living paycheck to paycheck. Mm-hmm. I mean, there are people who are making $100,000 a year as a single person who are living paycheck to paycheck. So before we go, we want to give you guys one bonus tip of how to escape the cycle of living paycheck to paycheck, and that is building generational wealth. So after you did the other 3 steps of stop living beyond your means, you created a budget, and you have created an emergency fund, now it's time to start building generational wealth. Wealth is defined by time. How long can your money last if you stop working today? Your emergency fund sustains you for those 3 to 6 months, but generational wealth sustains you for generations. So if you'd like to know more about getting started in investing, go and check out one of our latest videos where we're talking about getting started in investing and building generational wealth. And we'll be sure to put that down in the description box as well up here in the tab. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. That's all we got for you guys. Make sure you guys subscribe, and don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. And we'll see y'all next time. Peace.